So the big question is this: how do most agents who struggle to get the information that most successful agents hoard to themselves grow and prosper without this information? That's the big question, and this video cast is the answer. Welcome to Real Estate Rockstars. I'm your host, Pat Hyben. And now, for the review of the day. Got a 5-star review from Fit 1976. I get so much out of these podcasts. I'm a new agent, and this is a treasure trove of ideas. Pat has an amazing ability to draw down on the tactics that are used to be successful at real estate. I look forward to these every time they come out. My only feedback is, Pat, please get a new microphone. Your intro is different in quality than the interviews, sound-wise, but the content is so good, I can't stop listening. Thank you. Keep the comments coming, guys. I love them. And remember, I eat feedback for breakfast, so give me a 1-star review if you want, or a 5-star review if you want. I don't care. And the more reviews we get, the better guests we get. So please, subscribe first, and then leave us a review or wherever you're listening.
All right, Rockstar Nation, I have a really exciting guest today, Sarah Maiga from Ann Arbor, Michigan. Today on the broadcast, we are going to be talking about all kinds of cool stuff. So from goal setting to planning to seeing things out, success and failure. Sarah went from graphic design and law school to a real estate buyer agent, and now she's a full team owner, closed about $40 million in her career so far in just four short years, her words. So we're going to talk to Sarah today and find out all about her growth, her trajectory, how she's done what she's done, and what she can do to potentially help you guys out. So Sarah, welcome to Rockstar Nation and Real Estate Rockstars.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm super excited to be here today.
Yeah, our pleasure. So let's get right into it. So you went from you had a graphic design company, and then you decided to go to law school, but you got your real estate license in there right in the beginning before law school. So why did you do that? And then take us through that trajectory and how you got to where you are today.
Yeah, so I had transitioned my graphic design business from active to passive in preparation for law school. And so I got my real estate license as a backup because I was going to be out in California with my family here, remaining in Michigan. We weren't sure whether we were going to be able to liquidate and actually move to California together. And so when I realized that wasn't going to be possible after my first semester, I decided to come back to Michigan to use my license. But my goal was actually to get back to law school. Nice. I thought that I was still going to go back when I first joined. So within a month of coming back from law school, I joined a team as a buyer's agent.
So how long were you in law school?
I was only in law school one semester. One
semester. Okay. You just realized, not for me, I need to move on.
Well, actually, the issue was location-wise. I thought my family was going to be able to relocate. My husband owned several companies here in Michigan, and he couldn't liquidate them.
Got it.
So when we realized that we weren't going to be able to liquidate and move, I didn't want to be out in California by myself for another 3 years.
Yeah, totally makes sense. And you have kids?
I have one son who's turning 8 in November.
Wow. Okay. So yeah, you can't let the family stay behind for. Yeah, I totally get that. So take us fast forward. You got your real estate license. First semester, you realize it's just not where your life is going or where you want it to go. And then you said, okay, I'm going to join a team. Why'd you make that decision?
Well, because I had transitioned my prior business to passive, so I needed some source of income. Sure. And after reviewing a lot of the different models, I thought, how can I make money as fast as possible without having to invest a lot financially? And so I thought, if I join a team, I'll get mentorship, I'll get the ability to learn, I can make money fast and not have to worry about really building a brand or a business.
Love that. Do you think that's a smart idea?
For me, it worked out really well. Yeah. I felt like I really learned a lot, and I was thrown into an environment where, I was forced to kind of learn by fire, but it pushed me to do a lot more. I mean, I closed over $6.5 million my first year in the business as a buyer's agent. So, it was a really good first step for me.
Yeah, love that. And I think it's a great idea too, especially in today's real estate climate. You don't have to go out and learn your way and make your mistakes with your money. You could be a part of a team and get that value, mentorship and coaching and leads and training. And you can bypass a lot of the learning curve that most people who go out and start their own real estate team or their own real estate company, they have to make those mistakes, at least some of them up front, right? I mean, I'm sure you have a ton of friends.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, and I think that a lot of people are so eager to go out there and just kind of do it on their own because they think, I want to be my own boss and I want to run the show. But quite frankly, I feel people who run teams are often, they started underneath somebody else. They had to learn, they had to humble themselves. And so, my goal wasn't to get to become my own team lead. It wasn't until I figured out that I wanted to make a career in a business out of real estate after my second year in the business that, I decided that I was going to go off on my own. But prior to that, I'd actually thought I can really make a difference here in what I'm doing. And maybe there'll be, lines for me to maybe buy the business out one day or to be able to assume it, which unfortunately didn't end up happening, but that was what I was thinking.
Sure. No, that sounds awesome. And so your first year, you do over 6 million in closed sales volume. And then you said, what was that transition piece? Because I know there are a lot of people listening to the podcast right now which by the way, you're a top finalist in the 30 under 30 from NAR, National Association of Realtors, top 30 under 30 realtors in the nation. So forgot to mention that in the beginning. That's a very impressive stat, especially with only being in the business for a couple years.
Well, thank you. Yeah, I was very honored to have made the top 50 this year. So I'll take it.
Absolutely. So let's talk about that transition. I mean, like I said, there's people listening right now that may be a buyer agent on a team and maybe thinking about, hey, this is something that I really want to build into a career. And I'm trying to figure out what that next step is. Do I want to just jump in all the way? So tell us what you did to leave the team. I specifically would like to know, how did you part ways? What did that look like? Was it clean? Was it messy? And then starting your team, did you have pipeline business or did you have to start from scratch?
So I was actually only a buyer's agent for about 6 months.
Okay.
After I did that, I realized that there was way more opportunity on the listing side, that I could have more flexibility with my life and be more involved in my son's schedule. And I felt like there was just a bit more particular, conversation and scripts and consultation services that went into the listing side more than the buy side. So we had an opportunity open up on my team. They weren't happy with the listing specialist that we had. So they let me become the primary listing specialist on the team. And I was with a mom and pop brokerage, so there were only a few of us. But this team had been in business a very long time, so there was a lot of reputation and potential leads to go around. So I actually transitioned to a listing specialist 6 months into the business. And I felt that I found my calling. I absolutely loved the listing side. And so from the very first seller I met with up until today, I've only lost 5 listings out of about 120 listing appointments.
Wow, that's awesome. That's good stats, really good stats. All right, so then you talk about the transition into your own team. So how long were you with the first team you were with? How long were you with them, and then what was leaving like?
Yeah, so after I transitioned to listing specialist, I stayed on in that role until about a year and a half, December of 2017. Okay. And in 2017, as a listing specialist, I closed over 18 million in sales volume. Wow. I produced more than half of the company revenue.
Wow. And then what happened? A light bulb went off and you said, wait a minute.
I knew prior because we had some work-life environment issues. I wasn't going into the office very often, and there was a lot of competition, and I felt like they really didn't want me to grow. They didn't want me to learn, and that they felt very threatened by, my ability.
Sure.
And so, unfortunately, the relationship was not working out very well. And so I tried to make amends. I tried to get things to change. They just weren't interested. And so toward the end, they actually had taken some very retaliatory actions in lowering my commission split with them and changing the distribution, even though I far exceeded my sales goals and their conversion numbers. So I just knew that it was time for me to leave.
Oh, interesting. Okay. I've heard that plenty of times before. I've been in that situation before. You learn a lot. You certainly learn a lot about how you would do it on your own, what not to do, what to do. So let's talk about starting your own team. Did you switch brokerages or did you stay there?
Yeah, so actually went solo first. I transitioned to a local brokerage here in the Ann Arbor area because the broker there was very supportive, and I had run into her a year prior, and I liked the location because it was right by my son's school. I thought super convenient, and the splits were much better than what it was at my previous brokerage. So I thought, okay, I'm going to be making more money for less effort, so that's a plus. But after basically going solo, I realized really quickly that where I was, there wasn't a lot of opportunity for personal or business growth, that it was very much like a solo sales agent type job. And I wanted to grow a team, and I didn't know how quickly I'd be able to do that. But I knew that I had the potential. So, I thought rule of thumb here is I need an admin, because if I'm going to be doing 40 transactions a year, I need to have support so that I can hit that number and not lose my mind.
Right.
And there was just nothing in place to be able to make that happen. No sample job descriptions, no contracts or anything in terms of how to find and hire somebody. I'm like, I really just wanted to know, what's the range of hourly pay and how do we set that up in terms of, compensation? Are they 1099? Are they W-2? Nobody had answers. And I'm like, we have 150 agents and teams who are producing 100 million a year. How do we not have these things available for agents who are coming in? And it really was because they didn't want that kind of a structure to be able to happen more, long term. So within 6 months, I transitioned to Keller Williams in Ann Arbor, and it's been great. And that's when I decided to start my team.
Got it. Okay. So you talked a little bit about professional and personal growth in there. Can we dig into that for a second? Because
sure.
I found in my career and the people on our team and the people that I coach, and professional development is one thing, but personal development is where the business actually grows, because the person grows.
Absolutely.
So what are some of the things you do for personal development that someone could take from this podcast today, just jump into, sign up for today?
Well, I wish I had an exact answer for you. I will say that I do have a high performance coach. He's not real estate related. It's more about work-life balance and living a charged life and really just getting the most out of your experience, because I struggle with work-life balance. I tend to want to work a lot and then feel guilty for not being home. And then when I am home, feel guilty for for not working. So, that kind of never ending cycle. So I really am in a process now of just diving deep into my personal relationships, as well as what I'm hoping to become both personally and professionally. So that's one thing that I do. And then I also run a team book club. So at the end of last year, I basically picked the 12 books I want my team to focus on, a different topic for personal development, whether it's habit development, whether it's, contentness or mindset or marketing or service. And every month has a different topic. And so this month we just finished The Greatest Salesman in the World. And
awesome.
Next month we're going to be, it was very interesting. And I also just finished The 5 Dysfunctions of a Team. And then now we're going to be reading, how to grow a network, or how to grow a business from your existing network. So just trying to find ways to continue to improve ourselves.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's really awesome. What's your favorite book you've read so far? Do you have a favorite?
So honestly, the one I just finished, The 5 Dysfunctions of a Team, it had me on the edge of my seat. I listened to it in an audiobook, but I finished the whole book in 24 hours because I just couldn't stop listening to it. Right. And I'm about to go back and use it as the practice for my team advance, which I have scheduled for next week as a midway point to set goals for the rest of the year, to figure out where we're at and how to recharter the remaining, few months we have.
That's awesome. Yeah, I love that. And in terms of professional growth, I know KW offers a ton of classes. Do you do the KW stuff? Do you do outside stuff? What are you doing for professional growth?
Yeah, so I'm a lifelong academic, obviously, wanting to go to law school, and then I was in academia before my graphic design company. So I'm very much a believer that you are what you know, and people hire you and the value you add in your expertise because you're going to provide something above and beyond what somebody else would provide or what they already know or have access to. So I've actually completed over 288 hours of continuing education in the last 4 years.
Wow.
I've pretty much run out of designations to take, but I'm taking 2 more this year, which is a senior real estate specialist and a military relocation specialist designation, which I have scheduled for later. But I take them through our local board. I'm actually a member of 2 boards, the Ann Arbor Board and the Greater Metropolitan Association of Realtors. So I try to sign up for classes or designations that focus on niche markets or specialty beyond what I can do personally.
Got it.
I want you to think about the word toolbox. What is a toolbox? A toolbox is a box full of tools that you use to build something great. At Real Estate Rockstars, we've created our own free toolbox. So everybody that comes on the show as a guest brings a tool with them, and we plow them all into this toolbox, and we give it away for our viewing audience to basically use as they wish. Everything we put in there is an actionable item that can be downloaded, can be printed, can be used immediately. And we got things like scripts and dialogues, checklists for teams, checklists to keep agents accountable, referral forms that are filled out at settlement to get referrals by your buyers and sellers. Everything you could think of that you could use on a regular basis about real estate is included in this toolbox. And it's helping agents worldwide sell more houses and make their jobs a lot easier and processes much more efficient. And the thing is, it's absolutely free. All you got to do is go to hibandigital.com/toolbox or text the word toolbox to 444-999. That's toolbox 444-999. Do it now. Hey, real estate agents and rock stars. If you're getting value out of the content in this episode, make sure you like the video and subscribe to this channel. Also, click the little bell icon to be notified about upcoming episodes. And I would also love it if you left a comment and shared the most impactful tips and tactics you've learned from the knowledge shared in this episode, or even maybe make a suggestion requesting a topic of what you'd like to learn in future episodes. I welcome any feedback below. Now, back to the episode.
So let's talk about your team for a second. So you've got, describe your team. It's you as a team leader and rainmaker, and then.
Yep. So I started a team last year in June, and I brought on a buyer's agent and an admin, both of which that I let go by the end of the year. So I had decided neither was the right fit for what I was looking for. And so then I started again from scratch. And then I brought on a new buyer's agent and a new admin, both in January of this year. Okay. And so they both are kind of doing it by fire.
So you, admin, buyer agent, that's it. You handle all the listings, buyer agent takes care of the buyers. Now,
yes, the goal is to get the buyer's agent to handle all the buyers. But when she came in, I already had 35 buyers signed under agency agreement, roughly. So any of those, I'm not able to transition over, but anything new, yes.
Got it. And so let's talk about your bottom line numbers. So last year, how many houses did you sell in the last 12 months?
Yeah, so last year I sold 41 units. Okay. 2 of those were rentals, though, so 39 residential transactions. Yeah, and then you want volume?
Yep. So gross sales volume?
Gross sales volume was $10,220,981.
Cool. And then what's your projected for this year?
My team is projected to do about $14 million this year.
Okay. And then your gross commissions off that?
My gross commission from the last 12 months was $306,000.
Got it. And then profit margin, like how do you run your team?
So I wish I had more profit margin from this past year, but unfortunately, because I was really funding, the startup, the brand, marketing materials and everything, my gross profit margin for this past year was about 170.
Okay.
which is about 55% roughly of the gross income. But I'm actually reading Profit First right now, and I'm working on restructuring the way that my income expenses are taken care of now and really focusing on making more profit.
Got it. That's smart though. I mean, look, I think we're so used to on these podcasts and other podcasts, and you and I were talking about it earlier, where you're listening to people say 80 million, 150 million, 250 million in sales volume, but it's really important. It's really important to point out that you started this business, you're doing everything you can to do it right, if there's a right way, maybe by the model. And you've already gone through a round of a buyer agent and an admin, which is extremely smart of you, because if they don't work, they don't work. I think all of us as business owners need to follow that advice. When we know somebody's not fitting into our criteria, that's when we should just move on. It's the time when you know they're not fitting in and you think that there's a miracle that's going to happen, and it winds up biting you in the butt every single time. So real quick, then we'll go back to the volume stuff. Did you, when you were hiring your second agent and your second admin, what did you learn from the first one? I mean, I know this is out of left field, but I just want to know from you, what did you learn from the first round of hires, and then obviously letting them go, that you took into the second round of hires that would make them a little bit, I don't know, better than the first round or more purposeful?
Yeah, so on the buyer's agent front, the main issue I had was that person had no experience in real estate at all. They had come from like a social work background, and as much as she had a lot of potential, she also was working toward another degree outside of real estate, so it became a scheduling priority conflict. And so my issue is that I like people, and I like people to like me. I'm a networker,
right?
And it's hard for me to stick to my guns when somebody is maybe not living up to the expectation or agreement. I tend to give them the benefit of the doubt, and I want like, well, I know we haven't hit our numbers or we're not doing what we need to do, but let's like set goals for the next time and try to get there, and I'll work with you, and just kind of be more friendly. So I've realized that although I can be friends with the people, I can care for them. At the end of the day, I am still running a business, and if I'm going to be spending a lot of my time helping them make their goals, which is helping them be profitable in a way that makes sense for them, then I expect that they're going to come to the table with a similar kind of commitment and enthusiasm. And I expect them to show up, and I expect them to be accountable for their actions. And so that's definitely something that I did differently this time around for the buyer's agent side of things.
So you hired
somebody. Admin. Yeah, go ahead.
So you hired somebody licensed this time?
Yeah, she was a transaction coordinator on another team, and she had helped complete like 120 transactions. And even though she was a TC, they were very much using her in a listing agent or buyer's agent capacity.
Oh, wow.
She just wasn't being compensated for them.
Okay.
And so she was like, this isn't fair. I'm basically an agent, but I'm not getting paid like an agent. So why should I stay here? So I was like, yeah, definitely. So she transitioned, and she's been wonderful.
That's awesome. What is she on track for? And she's been with you since January. So what is she on track for?
So she joined my team in January, but there is definitely a lot of learning curve in terms of training. And I have her doing a coaching program, the Psychology of Sales right now, which has been a 12-week program. And she has about, 13 or 15 buyers under contract right now, somewhere in that range, meaning agency agreements that she's working with. But it took her some time to get into the flow of things, and she didn't have a sphere or anything like that. So we really had to create from the ground up her book of business. And so she's been working really hard to do that. And I think by the end of the year, we'll have her somewhere between 5 and 6 million.
Got it. Okay. That's awesome. That's fantastic. All right. So let's talk about listings and buyers. So your percentage split on the team, what's listings, what's buyers? What's your percentage there?
Yeah. So I'm 60% listings and 40% buyers.
Okay. As a team?
As a team. Yeah.
Okay. All right. And then do you have any plans to get that up a little bit more in terms of listings? I know a lot of teams have that goal, or do you enjoy the buyer side and agent enjoys the buyer side, so you're good, kind of leave it that way?
I think a 60-40 is a pretty good split, primarily because I do have a buyer's agent who I need to make sure is getting, a good amount of business and being able to be profitable. And so I feel like if our volume numbers, double, then sure, yeah, I'd like to have an increase in the listing. But if we're at the level where we're at, it needs to be a nice balance between the listing and buy side.
Got it. How do you get your leads for listings and buyers? Like, what's your number one lead?
Yeah, so 70% of my business right now is coming from repeat clients and past client referrals.
Got it.
Because I have about 150 past clients. They like me, they like what I've done, they trust me, so they refer people. So that's the primary source of listing. But I'm also holding a new thing this year. I'm holding a seminar on the first Saturday of every month at our local Washtenaw Community College. And every month is on a different real estate topic. And it's been really interesting. I had no idea how it was going to go or whether we were going to get any kind of buzz. But I thought, I like to help people. I like to educate them. So let me see what I can provide in terms of value. And so I've gotten 8 listings so far out of 4 seminars,
Wow.
which has been good. And we've gotten six buyers roughly out of those same seminars. And we're even getting people who are messaging us who can't attend the seminar but like the topic. And so they want to have a consultation so that I can provide them some information on it.
That's awesome. Dig into that a little bit. So describe this. It's at the local community college, and how do you market it out? On Facebook and emails?
Yeah, so I planned this actually last year. It was going to be my big thing that I was doing to generate, to make myself look like the local market expert and to get myself in front of ready, willing, and able buyers. So I actually sent out a magnet at the beginning of the year to my entire farm, my entire sphere, and it had all 12 seminar topics on it with the date, time, and location so that people could just put it right on their fridge and they'd have the magnet for what that would look like. And then I've been sending out a full 12 by 12 postcard to that same farm every month, inviting them to prior. However, I'm about to transition for the remaining quarter after reading Profit First to 1 per quarter with 3 seminars on it, as opposed to 1 every month, which has been a bit repetitive. But we definitely put it on Eventbrite. We're doing social media ads, Facebook targeting, Instagram ads. We've marketed with the local chambers because I'm a member of both our, 2 local chambers. So we do it that way. I'm a member of the local Rotary Club, so we advertise with them.
Nice.
And then I also identify all my key partners because I've been able to solidify partnerships, like exclusive referral partnerships with a moving company, with carpet, paint, a estate sale person, a lender, title, et cetera. And they give my clients discounts for working with me. And so I've also been basically picking one of them per month to sponsor the food. And then they do a lot of their own advertising as well.
Sure. That's fantastic. I want you to dig into that a little bit more because I know there's somebody listening right now that wants to make some big changes. So you've got relationships solidified with a moving company, a painting company, all these different things, lenders, title, like those are the norm. And all those guys, maybe not lender and title because they have a little conflict in there to make you the exclusive, but how did you get that relationship started? And how did you get to be the exclusive for those companies?
So it actually started with a moving company. I had one that I'd worked with previously that I felt wasn't very competitive. And I went into my next year planning out where am I going to get my business? Who are going to be my key, sources? And I said, I really need some partners because I've been giving out a lot of business.
Sure.
And I was basically reviewing my numbers and looking from, the lender side, looking from the moving side. I'm like, they get so much business from me, but I haven't seen anything in return. And so, I basically said, I need to start identifying people who are going to be as committed to growing my business and brand as I am to theirs. Because otherwise, what is the point of a partnership? Yes, they provide great service to my clients, but so do I. And all I'm asking is an opportunity.
Sure.
So my moving company, first one I started with, I went to my initial, company and said, this is what I'm looking for. I'm looking for a partner who's going to commit, who's going to co-brand on their website, who's going to have me on their social media page, who's going to pitch me to their clients who don't have signed paperwork and that they're going to actually hand out my stuff. And I feel like it was a bold, kind of thought.
Yeah.
And I think I kind of shocked them when I asked that. Then they said, no, I'm sorry, that's just not going to work for me. And I said, okay, I understand. Thank you so much. it's been good doing business with you. And then I found another local moving company. I started interviewing them, and I went to their facilities. I made sure everything looked good. I wanted to make sure they would still provide the same level of care to my clients. And I actually ended up finding somebody who does a better job, and they loved the idea of partnering with me. And so they've been providing moving trucks for all of my community events. I do 3 a year where I basically collect donations for charities. They're huge community-wide events. I actually had the local police department in the township support my last one, which was in May. And so, they provide the transportation and anything I need for donations. They co-brand and they market me as well. So it's been really good. And then I just kind of went from there. And I said, well, I've got one down. Now I have other people that I need to connect with and see who's going to be committed. And so now I've kind of put together a program, which I call my concierge program, the Maiga Moves concierge program, which is a group of people who are committed to servicing my clients, giving them the best possible prices. And then I coordinate all of it for them.
Got it. I love that. I absolutely love that. So in terms of your like CRM and other lead gen like sources, besides the Sphere, besides this, like the affiliate program is awesome. And these courses or like these seminars you're doing, anything else you're doing to get business in?
Well, we are doing bi-weekly newsletters. We're trying to do really innovative value-adding content, things that people aren't thinking about, the millage rates increasing or, just something different, like how to get the most out of your taxes.
Yeah.
And making sure people are thinking about it, both to service existing clients as well as future prospective clients. And so we've been getting really good traction. We've been trying to find unique titles to, get people to open them. But, when we first started, people aren't unsubscribing anymore, which is good. And we've got 2,300 subscribers to our newsletter. And out of that, about 23% of them are opening them at least once. And we're getting pretty good click-through rate as well to a lot of our marketing materials. And so we're trying to just keep our face in front of people in addition to the print marketing and the social media. And I didn't have a social media account before January of last year. And I've grown our business page to almost 900 followers, which doesn't seem like a lot, but, to have nothing. So to be able to grow it to 900 followers in about a year and a half, I'm still working on it. I'm reading a book now, How to Grow to 1 Million Followers.
No, it's fantastic. So what CRM do you use?
So we actually just transitioned to Brevity. Previously, I was using Follow Up Boss, which we a lot, but I just felt like there were some things that were missing, and I was looking to redo our website and actually have our website work for us so that we could start generating leads off of that as well. And so I'm actually doing a search engine optimization. I've hired somebody to do that for me now so that we can make sure that we're showing up where we need to be showing up for the, zip codes, neighborhoods, cities, as well as searches. But, my previous website, I just did a placeholder, something just so people Googled me, they could find something. But I'm like, I really need to start generating more strings, more leads outside of what we're doing. And so it's been about 4 months since I transitioned over, and I've been really pleased with all of the features and products that they've been offering so far.
I love that.
Hey, real estate agents and rock stars. If you're getting value out of the content in this episode, make sure you like the video and subscribe to this channel. Also, click the little bell icon to be notified about upcoming episodes. And I would also love it if you left a comment and shared the most impactful tips and tactics you've learned from the knowledge shared in this episode, or even maybe make a suggestion requesting a topic of what you'd like to learn in future episodes. I welcome any feedback below. Now, back to the episode.
All right, Sarah, so tell me a failure you've had in the business, whether as a solo agent, as an agent on a team, or as a team owner that turned out to be a huge blessing to you today. You have anything like that?
It's a good question. I would say the only thing that I can think of that would be what I consider to be a failure would be that I had a very difficult client that I had decided to work with that was actually a friend of my husband. And they were very let's just say they were very negative people who did not value the partnership, but they believed that since they were doing over $1 million in volume, that they could treat people however they wanted. And I actually ended up letting them go. We had listed the property, and I fired them actually the first day we hit market, which was crazy. They were like, "What are you doing? Like, what do you mean I have to find another agent? We just listed the house." And it was an expensive house. And it would have been a good listing, but unfortunately, with the way that they were treating me and the way things had gone in the conversations we had, it just wasn't worth it. So I ended up firing them, and I was really nervous because I thought my husband was going to be really upset that I fired his colleague. But it ended up working out fine. And quite frankly, there were so many issues, and they ended up relisting. And I followed the transaction just because I was curious. They actually ended up having to be evicted via police because they did not move out at the appropriate time when they were supposed to per the contract. And it was just a huge mess. So I'm just really glad that I made the decision I did and kept my honor and just said, nope, not worth it, and move on.
Wow, good for you, because there's a lot of people, myself included, who have taken on clients that we know just don't respect us, don't respect our time, our expertise, our value. So good for you, especially $1 million client. You just let them go. But then look at what you would have had to deal with at the end, or probably all the way through and to the end.
Well, and for me, my reputation is the most important thing. And you can say it's ego or pride, but if somebody doesn't value me or feel that they trust me, I can't work with them. I don't care how much it's worth. Right. There's no amount of money that's worth it to me.
I agree with you on that for sure. So what advice would you give a new agent just coming into the business? Just a couple pieces of advice, actually. What would you tell a new agent who says, Sarah, I need your help. Can I have an hour of your time? I need your most valuable advice. What would you tell them first and foremost? They don't know anything about anything.
Well, I would say the first thing they should do is take a class or read a book, watch a YouTube video on how to build a business plan, and to create an economic model in combination with that. Because a lot of times agents, they come into the business and they see money. They think there's a lot of opportunity to be able to make a lot of money, and there is, but there's a reason such few people are actually successful in doing more than, $7 million a year, making more than $50,000. It's because it takes a lot, and you have to create a mind space. You have to literally create yourself in a space of somebody's mind, because there's already 1 million of us, right? So I think the important thing is to figure out how is it, like what kind of numbers make them happy. How much is a happy number for them to justify like the work that they're doing? Is it $50,000 a year? Is it $100,000 a year? Figure out what their expenses would be to get to those numbers, and then work backwards so they know how many sales they need to have. And once they have those numbers and how many appointments they need to be going on, then they need to map out a business plan of how they're going to actually get those appointments. And so I think it's really important to not just wing it, and they need to be spending that time prospecting. When you're a new agent, everything is like 80% prospecting, 20% business development. If you're not prospecting, you're not going to survive.
Fair enough. What advice would you give yourself as a rookie agent? If you could go back and start it over again, what would you give yourself as far as advice?
I would say,
or what would you do?
I would say don't go for the short-term gain, because I was in a position where I was very unhappy with my team brokerage for, actually 6 months in. I was like, it was a really bad environment, but I thought, well, in the short term, I can gain a lot from this, as opposed to looking at the long-term kind of mental health consequences of what that would be for me. And so looking back, even though I, valued the experience that I got from my position, I would have made the decision to focus more on the long-term picture sooner than what it took me to get to 2 years in, where I'm finally just kind of scrambling. Because when I left my team, I had never actually closed the transaction. I didn't know what title work was, because on the team that I was on, I wasn't allowed to learn those things. They didn't want me to have those pieces of the puzzle. And I'd never really prospected either. I didn't even know what prospecting was. I didn't have an online presence. I wasn't allowed to market. So there were so many things that I felt like I just didn't know how to do. And it took me until 2 years in to actually be able, by fire, to figure out how to do them.
Right.
And I really wish I would have gone back and done that differently.
Prospecting, huge, key. So what do you think I ask this question every time. What do you think the future of real estate looks like for the agent?
Well, I think that it's going to be harder and harder for a solo agent to continue to compete. I think it also really depends on like what kind of a brand or lifestyle that somebody is looking to, obtain.
Sure.
Not everybody wants to be a $110 million team producer. Some people are happy at $5 million or $10 million if it means that they get the lifestyle they want for travel and all of that. So it's really going to depend on what they're looking for. But I do think as the market is shifting, as technology is becoming more readily available, there's more information online to people. There's more sites to help people sell for themselves. It is going to be harder and harder to justify the value add at the percentage or the fee that we charge. Sure. And so I feel that, we are definitely in a relationship business, and I don't think that piece will go away. But I definitely think that, we're going to see some people weeding themselves out. You're going to have to be more and more competitive and provide more and more value to be able to continue to hold or take market share.
Love that. And what's your take on like the iBuyer stuff? And like I saw a commercial the other day, actually many commercials, that Zillow is, they have the iBuyer program, and they have a program where they'll just buy your house kind of like a wholesaler. What are your thoughts on that? Do you have that in your area?
So we don't yet, but it's starting to come around. We're starting to see more Redfin signs, listed by Redfin and, instant buyer. I mean, quite frankly, it really bothers me because I feel like people don't, like my whole spiel or the way that I operate my business is from a place of let me educate you about your options. Sure. And then you make a decision that you're comfortable with. And I feel like with these new things that are coming up, a lot of times people really are uneducated about what their options are, and they see something that they're familiar with and they think it looks easy, but they don't understand that maybe they could get way more money for their house, and they're giving up a lot of equity, and they're potentially giving away a lot more fees as well, and that really bothers me.
You have a really good point there. Whereas, I've talked to people and they said, well, I mean, you charge X, and this other company, I won't mention them, charges half of what you charge. And I say, I totally get that. And then I go into that education conversation as well of like, at the end of the day, you need to know as much information as you need to know to make the best decision possible. Without that information and just looking at the price point, then we have to find the value somewhere here. And I get it if the value is not with me, but at the same time, are you getting everything that you need to know to make the best decision from that other company? Or are you seeing the like slashed prices on a listing fee and thinking, bam, that's like my 80% of my determination already there. And so I have those conversations with a lot of people, and a lot of people will say to me, I think, I don't want to say just educated people, but people who are inquisitive, they'll say, it's interesting. And I'll say, look, I'm not just trying to win your listing. I don't even know if this is the right listing for me, or if I'm the right person for you, or you're the right client for me. That at the end of the day, as a general public, it's my job to educate you on things you should know when going to list your home. And then I would say that 90% of the people will say to me, all right, well, now I'm interested. So do you think I'm making a bad decision? I said, I don't think you're making a bad decision at all. I don't know if you're making a good decision or a great decision. Let's talk about it. And then we go into like asking a bunch of questions to figure out, is that the best decision for them? Sometimes it is. Sometimes we're like, look, I really don't care. I own no money on this house. If you could get me 10 grand more, it doesn't matter. My grandmother gave me this house. Just get me. I just want out. And at that point, the motivation is just not that high. But us as agents, is our job to make sure that we understand a client's motivation so that we are actually helping them, not just helping ourselves to a paycheck, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I feel like that was one of the biggest things that I noticed was missing when I got into the industry. And I was really, quite frankly, it was hard for me to go from law school into real estate, where in our state, you don't even have to have a high school diploma to be a real estate agent. And so, the bar is really low. Yep. Class is only 40 hours, 8 hours of continuing ed. And then basically they're like, go ahead and you can, get your license and sell somebody's house worth $500,000. And it's just crazy to me. And so, I will tell you, out of all the clients I've been on, there have been some people, obviously there's always those few people who are like, well, is that being negotiable, or somebody else told me that they would pay less. But if you understand your value and you're able to demonstrate it to them in a way that makes sense for them, and what I do is I will walk through the process and I'll talk about the questions, the things like, well, what happens at inspection if this happens? Or do you know if there's this in your home? Or what about appraisal? Are we going to have an appraisal issue?
Right.
And if we are, what happens if the home doesn't appraise? What are your options and how do we handle that? And just kind of educating them about the things that could go wrong and how I've dealt with those in the past and other ways that maybe they haven't thought of.
Sure.
And I can tell you, out of all the listings I've gone on, I've had maybe 3% of everybody mention the fee and they still pay it. In fact, I've even had sellers tell me that I should charge more than what I'm charging because of the value that I bring to the transaction. And it's the same thing on the buy side. All my buyers sign contracts agreeing to my fee, even if the seller's not going to pay it. It doesn't matter what market they're in, what the compensation is. They know out of pocket they're going to pay whatever that fee is because demonstrated enough value to them at the consultation that they feel that I'm the best partner for them. Sure. And it doesn't matter if it costs them $500 or $8,000. It's worth it to them.
Yeah, love that. So wrapping up here, this has been extremely valuable. What else would you like to leave the audience with that, let's just say the new agent or an agent looking that's, a buyer agent or an agent on a team looking to kind of hang their own shingle up. What advice can you give them and what do you want to leave the audience with?
So I have given a marketing plan that basically walks you through everything you should, at least what I'm doing to market in terms of how frequently and when and what I'm sending out to my farm or my mailers, as well as what I'm emailing, any events that I'm having, when I'm starting to advertise for those. That's just the basis of like the frequency, and I'm going off of the 32 touch system. Yep. And so I feel, I've deviated a little bit from it this year, but I've been using it pretty closely. And I feel that having that is really helpful because then you have a plan of action to make sure that you're not missing out on what you should be doing, because you need to stay in front of them every 3 weeks or people will forget you exist.
Yeah, that's a very good point. Very good point. And I think that's a great point. So you're going to be at hibandigital.com. You're going to be able to find Sarah's marketing plan for a 32 or 33 touch throughout the year. Event stuff, newsletter stuff, email blasts, social media posts?
I don't think I have social media posts on there, but I do have like my mailer, like timeline of what I'm mailing and when.
Would you share with people what you mail them? What you mail your clients? Is it like a stock postcard?
On there it says what it is, like a just listed flyer, or we have a buyer flyer. I don't have a template per se. It kind of varies depending on what we send. But I'm a graphic designer, so I custom make all of my stuff.
Love that. I bet it looks awesome.
But I will say that if somebody is not a designer and they need an easy to use resource to find flyers or brochures, pamphlets, I use Creative Market a lot. It's like $5 for a PDF, an AI, or a PSD file, and you can find pretty much anything you need. So I've been doing that a lot lately.
What's that called?
Time is valuable. Creative Market. It's basically designers who put up templates, and you buy the template, you can use it whatever, and you can customize, so you can choose to buy in a PDF, an AI, whatever you're comfortable with using, publisher, but it saves you the hassle of having to create a template from scratch, which saves me time. So.
I love that. I love that. So I know you explained a little bit in the beginning, but like anything else you're doing right now to improve who you are, yourself, any classes, seminars, any personal development books, anything you're doing right now? Podcasts besides Real Estate Rockstars?
Well, I mentioned that I just finished the 5 dysfunctions of a team, and then we're about to start next month's book, which is how to grow your network. How to grow your business from network. The 5 plus 50 plus 100 equals awesome, basically. And I'm also reading Profit First right now. So I'm really focusing and honing in on my budget and profit right now. Because my expenses have been very high this year, and I want to make sure I'm actually able to live off of the money that I'm bringing in.
That would be a good idea. So how to grow your business. What was the book name?
I have the title here. It's called How to Be a Power Connector.
How to Be a Power Connector. Got it. That's awesome. So everybody, you can go to Hyman Digital, and we're going to upload Sarah's marketing piece for everybody to take a look at and copy and do whatever you want with, because Sarah's super successful with it. And it just can be another tool in your arsenal. You don't have to use it to a T. You can just take a little bit from a lot of different people and make it your own and own it. And then you give that to other people for them to work with and take a little piece from you. So this has been great, Sarah. I really appreciate you coming on Real Estate Rockstars. I know Rockstar Nation, I'm sure, has gotten a lot of value out of this. Where can people get a hold of you? You're on social media? Well, yeah, you are.
Yeah. So
Newly.
You can go to my website at Maiga Homes, MAIGA homes.com.
Cool.
Or you can also find me on social media. Pretty much if you Google Maiga Homes, because Maiga is such a unique name,
Yeah.
I come up everywhere.
That's awesome. So, all right, Sarah Maiga, this has been a real pleasure. So, top 50, 30 under 30 finalist, Ann Arbor, Michigan, started the team. It's doing really well, looking to grow it by quite a bit this year, actually. It was like a quarter, like 25% growth. Yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah, about 25%. Yep.
I love that. Well, look, if anybody wants to reach out to Sarah, you know where to find her, maigahomes.com. Probably, like she said, it's the only one out there. So you can find her super easy. Find her on social media. Do you have an Instagram handle?
It's also Maiga Homes.
Okay. Perfect. Sarah, this has been absolute pleasure. I really enjoyed talking to you, and I know a lot of people got a lot out of this. So thanks for coming on Real Estate Rockstars.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, you're very welcome. All right, well, we'll see you. Actually, I'll be up in Ann Arbor this summer, and I'll look you up.
Oh, that's awesome. Yes, please. I'd love to take you around.
Yeah, for sure. All right, Sarah, thank you so much for your time today, and we'll catch you on the next one.
Thanks.
Rockstar Nation, thank you for listening to Real Estate Rockstars. Listen, I need a favor. If you find this free content helpful, if you find our downloadable items from each guest helpful, please, I need you to pull out your pointing finger. Yes, the one finger that points at people, and hit subscribe. Yes, subscribe. The more subscribers we get, the better we look in the ratings, and the easier it is to get guests like Robert Kiyosaki, Barbara Corcoran, all the players that are on $1 million listing in the different cities. All that stuff makes it easier the more subscribers we get, so please subscribe. And listen, there's a lot of places you can leave comments. There's a lot of places you can like. We're on Facebook. We have an Instagram page. Instagram page is I am Pat Hyben. The Facebook is Real Estate Rockstars Radio. Feel free to leave us comments there. The most popular form of commenting seems to happen on YouTube. Yes, for whatever reason, it's a very open environment. So just go to YouTube and go to Real Estate Rockstars Radio. Leave us comments there. Some of them we will read on the show. We love your feedback. So thanks, guys, and I hope you are having a great day. Oh, and also, listen, if you're going to subscribe and you haven't already left a review on iTunes, please do that too. Have a great day, and thanks so much, Rockstar Nation. I really appreciate you.